Welcome back to the Methodcast, where we take deep dives into transformation, addiction, and the sneaky ways our minds keep us stuck. Today, we're diving into the raw, ridiculous, and strangely inspiring story of Bob Darrell, a man who faced addiction head on and came out the other side, not just sober, but laughing at the absurdity of the whole thing. Bob Darrell tells his story in a talk about surrender at Alcoholics Anonymous. But let's be clear, this isn't your typical redemption arc. Bob's journey is funny, brutally honest, and riddled with the kind of moments that make you question everything you thought you knew about addiction. And as we explore his story, we'll also draw some striking parallels with the Easy Peasy Method, a no-nonsense, illusion-shattering approach that makes quitting addictive behaviors feel effortless rather than an uphill battle. So, sit back, grab a coffee, and let's get into it. Bob Darrell doesn't introduce himself as a success story. No grand speeches, no "look at me now." Instead, he starts with a simple, self-deprecating truth. My name is Bob Darrell, and I am an alcoholic through the grace of God. That's Bob. No sugarcoating, just raw honesty, and a knack for seeing the absurdity in his own downfall. Bob's drinking career started young, and like most addicts, he didn't believe he was really addicted. He thought he was different, special, smarter than the system. If you've ever read Easy Peasy, you'll recognize this exact mindset, the belief that you can outthink addiction, that you have control when, in reality, the addiction is the one controlling you. Bob thought he was making choices, but looking back, he sees that alcohol had been making his choices for him long before he ever admitted he had a problem. When he first stumbled into AA meetings, it wasn't because he wanted to quit drinking, he just wanted to get people off his back. He sat there, half listening, half judging, thinking about how he wasn't like these people. They were weak. They were lost. He was just going through a phase. If that sounds familiar, it's because that's what every addict thinks. Bob was clinging to the illusion of control, the same illusion that keeps people trapped in smoking, drinking, or any addictive behavior. Enter Woody. Woody was the AA guy who had it all together. The car, the house, the perfect family. Bob found himself needing a favor, and he figured Woody was the guy to ask. But Woody wasn't in the business of making things easy. Instead of helping, he looked Bob in the eye and said, "Kid, you're not done yet. You haven't hit rock bottom." That pissed Bob off. What did Woody know? Bob had problems. Bob was in a mess. How much lower could he go? But the truth was, Bob hadn't surrendered. He still thought he could think his way out of it. He still believed there was a way to keep drinking without destroying himself. Easy Peasy talks about this exact phenomenon. The illusion that the addiction is still giving you something when, in reality, it's taking everything from you. Bob learned the hard way that the addiction always wins if you fight it on its terms. He describes his years of drinking as a series of misadventures, each one proving that alcohol wasn't just a problem. It was the architect of his misery. The time he ended up in jail because he just had to get cigarettes. The moment he realized he was stealing from his own future just to stay numb. The countless mornings waking up in a haze, wondering what had gone wrong this time. And then, there was the bridge. Bob found himself standing on a bridge, bottle in hand, contemplating the unthinkable. And at that moment, his grand revelation wasn't poetic. It wasn't cinematic. It was absurd. He looked at the bottle and thought, this crap isn't even made from grapes. That was it. That was the thought that snapped him out of it. It's exactly what happens in Easy Peasy, the moment of realization when you see through the lie. Addiction isn't some dark, powerful force. It's just an illusion. It convinces you that you need it, that it's your friend, that life is unbearable without it. But in reality, it gives you nothing. That's when Bob finally understood surrender, not as defeat, but as freedom. He didn't have to keep fighting. He didn't have to keep pretending. He could just let go. And that's where the real work began. Bob spent years unraveling the mess in his mind, and through it all, he found humor. He realized that his biggest enemy wasn't alcohol. It was the voice in his head that told him he wasn't good enough, that he was missing out, that life without drinking was dull. Easy Peasy describes this perfectly. The cravings aren't real. They're just your mind playing tricks on you. Once you stop believing the lies, quitting becomes effortless. Bob jokes that even in sobriety, his inner critic was relentless. That voice in his head that always had something negative to say, but every time he let go, every time he surrendered just a little more, the voice got quieter. It's like carrying a heavy bag for years, thinking you need it, and then one day realizing you can just set it down. That's what happened when he started helping others. Service, in AA, is the backbone of recovery. Bob found that when he stopped focusing on himself, his problems, his struggles, his self doubt, and started helping others, the burden got lighter. And again, this ties directly into Easy Peasy. The book talks about how addiction thrives on self obsession. The moment you shift your focus outward, you weaken its grip. Bob's story isn't about one big, triumphant moment. It's about a series of small, ridiculous, life-altering moments that added up to something profound. He learned that freedom wasn't in fighting addiction, but in seeing it for what it was: a scam, a con, an illusion that had kept him trapped for years. For anyone listening who's struggling with addiction, whether it's alcohol, smoking, porn, or anything else, ask yourself, do I actually enjoy this? Or am I just afraid to stop? That fear, that's the real addiction. And once you expose it, once you see the absurdity of it, quitting isn't just possible, it's easy. That's it for today's episode of the Methodcast. If Bob's story resonated with you, or if you're curious about the easy peasy approach, check out the book. And remember, surrender isn't weakness, it's how you win. Until next time, stay curious, stay aware, and most importantly, stay free. If this spoke to you, hit subscribe, drop a comment, and share it with someone who might need a little light today. You're not alone. We're rewriting the story together. Until next time, stay strong, stay open, and remember, freedom is your birthright.